Welcome back to the Dat Confessional podcast, everybody. We're back on schedule. We're back on track. And we got 4 big topics I want to hit you with today before we jump into previewing the Arizona Cardinals coming up this week, week 1. Starting with, and joined as always, of course, by Elias, the captains of the New Orleans Saints. Some familiar faces, some different. In fact, some of the topics we're going to talk about are going to intermingle here today, but I'm looking forward to it. We talked about it right before the show. What do you think about the captains?
That list fits.
Yeah.
Rebuilding year, but I think everybody that suggested that we kind of tank or this is like a rebuild team, it's still too many veterans on this team for me to suggest that this is I mean, look at the captains.
Yeah.
Alvin Kamara 30, Demario Davis 30, Cam Jordan over 30, Brandon Cooks over 30, Eric McCoy knocking on the door at 30. Blake Groupie is probably the youngest one on that list.
And only 2 of the people on the list are even new players, right? Like, it's just Justin Reed and Brandon Cooks who are even new to the team who made the captain's list. So it's not like you rebuilt, brought in, you didn't draft Myles Garrett and make him a captain, right?
Right.
So
it's a retool for me. And so the captains, I would lean toward rebuild if the division wasn't so iffy. I think the division is winnable. And so I'm looking at the captains, and the captains of the team, they fit. I mean, Cooks came in and did a lot during the offseason with organizing things with the wide receivers and the quarterbacks. Cam is a normal. Eric is a normal. Blake Groupie, you mentioned, because we walked away from JT Gray. So you have Blake Groupie there. And then Zach Wood has been on the team for a decade. And so Alvin Kamara is more of a newly minted team captain. He didn't play that role until last year prior to Dennis Allen leaving, or after Dennis Allen left, he was made captain. And so, yeah, it fits. I have no problem with the captains.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about JT Gray here in a second. When I look at it, it's, again, the rebuild, I get what you're coming from, and I don't necessarily disagree. The division here, I'm not sold on. Tampa Bay, we'll see what they do, and maybe it's just me being negative Nancy. I can't buy into Tampa Bay consistently. I'm not saying they're terrible. I'm just saying that I don't see them as a clear-cut dominator in the division. Like, they're not the New England Patriots of the NFC East back in the 2010s or anything. And because of that, like, you don't have to fully embrace rebuild. At the same time, the question marks are so large and glaring with New Orleans. You wouldn't be wrong if you're a national pundit and you call it a rebuild either. I mean, obviously, new coaching staff, a quarterback that technically isn't a new quarterback, but let's just say for all intents and purposes, a new quarterback getting thrown in with DA, and last year's situation certainly didn't do Rattler any favors. Let's just call it, him having a fresh opportunity. It makes sense to have it as both ways, which I guess could be seen as a good thing. And I think that comes down to the captains, because one thing you have in our captains is a lot of leadership. I mean, because if it was a rebuild, like what you're saying, you'd have a bunch of like 22, 23, 25-year-old guys wearing C's. Whether or not they were truly leaders, they were being put into that position. Whereas here, New Orleans does have established leaders. Will I question how effective Cameron Jordan will be in like his 19th year in the league, which is what it feels like at this point? Yeah, I'll question how effective he'll be. But at the same time, are there better people to lead the defensive line? I don't think there are. Are there better people to lead that defensive room, him and Demario Davis? No, I think that those are the guys, and hopefully they can raise up the next crop. So you're in like this weird intermediary period where you're halfway rebuilding, but at the same time, you've still got talent on this roster. And, I actually feel like it's understated the talent that they believe they picked up in Justin Reed. I mean, I think if Justin Reed had gone to almost any other team, like a contender team, people would be talking about that a lot more than him coming to New Orleans. But you got established veterans here while still trying to bring up that next crop, which is what an established team would be doing. So,
yeah, I like Justin Reed there too. I think Justin Reed could have been a quasi captain. I've heard him talk several times throughout the offseason. He is definitely a guy that seeks to uplift the players around him, talks very highly of them, but you can tell he has that lead by example mentality, but he can also preach it as well. And so he could have easily been on this list for me, but again, it would have been tough to unseat Demario Davis or Cam Jordan as defensive captains in that room, but he's definitely more of the general type at this point.
Yeah, and especially with Honey Badger retiring as well, just a couple months ago. So,
Right.
Reed has now taken that mantle, and I'm curious to see what the secondary looks like because we're talking captains. I would have figured JT Gray would have been one of those. JT Gray being released, and we'll see if he ends up like fully retiring. I mean, this is a guy that was a 3-time Pro Bowler. I'm sorry, 3-time All Pro, made the Pro Bowl roster a few years ago, but has been a special team All Pro for a while now. And this is also, we're still in that same conversation. Are you in a rebuild or are you not? Because JT Gray has been a tremendous contributor as a special teamer, but then you have guys like Isaiah Stallberg coming in and, looking really good here in camp and preseason. And when you talk about special teams, well, the big thing with special teams is developing those talents, right? Developing young guys in particular. You're not usually keeping aging veterans, even if they're really good on special teams. Those are roster spots you're devoting to young guys that you're trying to develop, put onto the field, and let them contribute. So the JT Gray thing is, again, War of the Sea. Can't really name a better special teamer in the past 10 years for New Orleans. I think he's been absolutely fantastic. But this is them moving on to a younger generation, which opened up that, a special team captain spot. But I do definitely, if nothing else, want to thank for what he did because I really do believe that in terms of the great special teamers they've had, just even going back to the Peyton era, JT Gray has been one of the most consistent and best. And it does suck to see it end. I mean, at some point the era ends. It's even like Alvin Kamara. AK's got maybe 2 more great years in him before you really start talking about him like, hey, the name's great, but it's not there no more. It happens to everybody. But JT Gray no longer with the Saints.
Yeah, and I think I looked at it from the standpoint of JT Gray's cap hit was like the count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. He was the 17th. His cap hit was the 17th highest on the team.
Yeah.
Just behind guys like Nathan Shepard and Justin Reed, but ahead of guys like Brian Brzee, Julian Blackman, Pete Warner, Brandon Cooks, Kool-Aid McKinstry, all guys that are scheduled to play much bigger roles than what JT Gray. And so it's almost like the expectation of performance didn't line up with the pay for them, along with this team increasingly getting younger. Like the fact that Demario and Cam Jordan skew the age of this team, the overall average age of this team, this team has gotten a lot younger over the last 6 to 7. There's even not as many undrafted free agents on this team. So I think Kellen Moore is doing a good job of churning this roster the way he needs to. And so JT Gray, unfortunately, was likely a casualty of that. And yet again, this isn't a team where a special teams ace is going to make or break this team per se. And so it was definitely likely a hard decision and yet very much a necessary decision for the direction that they're going now.
Yeah, see, he was about to turn 29 at the end of this. His birthday's in January, 29. And then like you said, you were paying, and I'm not taking away that he was an elite and maybe even still can be an elite special teamer. He was a 2nd team All-Pro last year, right? But you're paying a guy the money that you would pay a starter on defense, you're paying him as a special teams guy. And JT Gray would come in and contribute. I'm not going to pretend like he didn't hit the field, right? But it's a combination that, and by that argument, I'd actually argue if you were going to release Gray, you probably should have done it sooner. And I guess maybe they didn't because they needed to confirm they had some young special team guys they could rely on if you were going to release JT Gray. But he is getting older. And to your point, there is a skewing there when you look at the Saints being one of the older teams in the league because they have 10 players who are over 30. But 3 of those are over 35. Taysom Hill, Demario Davis, and Cameron Jordan. If you look at what they've actually been building in terms of starters here recently, you have a lot of young guys. Kelvin Banks is only 21. Like, I'm real excited about him. I was hesitant on the pick only because, I felt like there was a lot of needs, including other offensive line positions, but Fuaga and him seem to be working. And if he can be healthy, Penning might make me eat crow on moving him to guard, which, hey, if that succeeds for the team and that works, absolutely fantastic. But you look at like Kendre Miller and Kool-Aid McKinstry and Fuaga and maybe to a degree Bub memes, but Trey Palmer, who they just picked up. All these are young guys under the age of 25. Like, and that's not even including, Spencer Rattler, which I know a lot of people want to develop. There's some people who want Shuck there. It doesn't really matter. A lot of the key pieces of this team is putting together are younger guys, and there is a heavy skew because you can't name many teams in the NFL that have 3 players, assuming they're not like a punter or something, that are above the age of 35. It's the NFL. That doesn't happen. People aren't my age and Elias's age in the NFL. Just very rare. You've got coaches now that are going to be younger than Demario Davis and Cameron Jordan. So, again, JT Gray, big thank you for what he provided. But, Kellen Moore, I think the best way to word it, and you and I talked about this before the show, is he's truly creating his own thing. This is not a Dennis Allen, we're going to keep it going, keep chopping wood. He's building what he's going to build. Now, whether that's a successful build, we'll see. But he's certainly not sticking with things just because that's the status quo. He's making it how he wants to make it.
Well, it's a good segue into, I think, the next topic, in that what made this destination the ideal spot for Kellen Moore is the fact that there's a lot of experience from a lot of different places that can help with the decision-making process for Moore. He can focus on coaching. He doesn't have to play the role that maybe Sean Payton played, where he was almost like a quasi GM in ways, like direct control over a lot of things. Kellen can kind of settle in and find his footing, work on being the coach more, and then lean on the other voices that are in the building. One of them is a new voice from an old person or an old rival in Thomas Dimitroff. Looks like the Saints are going to be bringing him on as a consultant, as he'll be helping Mickey Loomis in every area of running
all
the team. All facets of running the team, which for me, we talked about it earlier, I see this as a bigger deal than maybe what it may seem like on the surface, because he's joining a list of former GMs in Randy Mueller, who Loomis brought on not too long ago, Jeff Allen, who Loomis brought on for the 2017 year, 2016 year. The difference is those two guys are unlikely to get GM opportunities.
Yeah.
Again, Dimitroff in the last hiring cycle actually interviewed for the Jets position, and I think one other team that he interviewed for. Dimitroff is still young. I see this as a successor type of energy for Mickey Loomis, and I think it's a smart thing for Mickey. I think the older he gets to realize, the more he realizes you have to lean on other people and have people around you that can help make decisions. But Dimitroff, the rivalry, it just seems like he could be someone that can be groomed to be the successor for Mickey in a couple of years.
And it should also be pointed out, I know we don't like to do this because obviously he was the GM for the Falcons for over a decade. But it should be pointed out that he was a successful GM for the Falcons. Because he was, you remember, Dimitroff, I think, came in like 2009. It was right around the Saints Super Bowl was his first year with Atlanta. It was maybe 08 or 09. I'd have to look it up. But I know he obviously made it all the way to 2020. They had that horrible season. They went like 4-12. He was gone. But if you look at what he did throughout that, they made the playoffs, 6 times while he was with the Falcons. They went to the Super Bowl and lost, right? But you made it to the Super Bowl. You had multiple years in that, about decade span where they won 10 games or more. I think there were 6 seasons, those playoff seasons where they won 10 games or more. And I know for a fact that his win-loss record is significantly in favor of wins compared to Jeff Ireland, who was in the losing column when he was with Miami. So it's not like he's coming in as a unsuccessful GM who's just going to feed in ideas. This is a guy who has a track record of success. And, sometimes we've talked about it before, GMs and coaches need to move to new spots. You get stagnant in one spot. You don't see a lot of coaches or even GMs lasting 10 plus years. Sometimes that's natural. But, this is a guy that's had a lot of success. And I hate to say that because, again, he's Falcon, but he's not even 60 years old yet. And in terms of GM years, he's not super old. So, and I'm still a little bit in the camp of I'm rooting for Ireland because I do think Ireland's done a great job overall with the scouting department. What this team chooses to draft and how they choose to approach it is on them. But I do believe the scouting overhaul that happened, several years ago has been a great benefit to this team. But at the same time, there's nothing wrong with having, knowledgeable guys who can contribute. And like you said, if he is the runner-up, Well, that would make a lot of Saints fans happy because there's certainly a very loud, no longer minority group of people calling for Mickey Loomis's head, right or wrong, and he's been in his position over 20 years now, right? And we talk about guys not lasting a long time, and we can talk that, yes, most of what he does is paperwork, right? He's not the type of GM that interferes with roster maneuvers, for example. He's not a Jerry Jones, right? He handles, make sure the organization is running. He does contribute, but he's not out there telling you who to draft, right? He's not the type. He's always been, whether it's Jeff Ireland, Kellen Moore now, Sean Payton, he is a coach's GM. He lets the coach manage the team. He manages the organization. But at the same time, like you said, you need new perspectives, especially fresh perspectives, and Dimitroff may provide that.
Columbus usually works as sort of like a bulletproof vest for whoever the coach is.
Yeah.
He takes all of the things where people like Loomis made this decision, and it's like there's been enough evidence over the years that Loomis steps back and typically lets the coach run the team. There were many examples of Dennis Allen being asked whose decision it would be, and Dennis Allen made it very clear that the final decision on a lot of things dealing with the roster fell with him. Mm-hmm. And so Loomis tends to play that bulletproof role of I'll take most of the blame, I'll only get a little bit of the credit, but he kind of offers a buffer for the head coach to do things and then kind of let things work out. Loomis, as he gets older, yes, father time comes for everyone in every capacity of this game. Jerry Jones is still holding on, and yet Jerry Jones is also still making mistakes like trading arguably a future Hall of Fame talent for 2 lottery picks, lottery tickets in next year's draft, and then trying to convince the organization that was a good move on the basis of we need to defend the run.
I think it was a good move, to be honest with you. But that's another debate.
You say what?
I think it was a good move, to be honest with you. Micah Parsons is Trey Hendrickson, but better. He is one-dimensional. He's getting older. He's having injury issues, and they weren't going to pay him $50 million a year. So you managed to get something, whereas New Orleans got crap. Like, yeah, I mean, if you're going to make that move, do what Jerry does. Now, will it end up panning out long-term? I'll tell you this. If you're Green Bay, this has got to be your win a year, because if you look at their contract situation in the next 2 years, it's worse than New Orleans has been with Mickey Loomis. So, like, Green Bay just threw all the dice in to win right now with Jordan Love, Micah Parsons, etc. And, hey, we'll see if that works out for them. But they weren't going to pay a one-dimensional player who is not elite versus the run $50 million a year. I mean, so if you know you're not going to do it and you can't get him at a discount, you might as well get a haul. That's what we wanted Mickey Loomis to do. Mickey Loomis didn't get nothing for Trey. So I guess that's the skewed view of why I look at it as now. Jerry Jones didn't lose, maybe because I'm used to seeing Loomis give away nothing and get nothing. So I didn't see it. Now, am I debating the talent of Parsons? Not at all. I think Parsons is, I would call him the second best pass rusher in the NFL today. But he's also not top 5 in terms of complete defensive ends either. So, and I'd only put him second to Myles Garrett as a pass rusher. It's Garrett, then Parsons.
Treylon Burks.
Yeah, well.
How did the Titans fare trading A.J. Brown for Treylon Burks? And how did that go? You do not look, if you're gonna if you're gonna give away a known talent. In fact, arguably, have we really maximized the picks that we got for Sean Payton?
No.
The picks we got for Sean Payton turned into Brian Brzee and Kool-Aid McKinstry.
Not yet. I do like the Brzee one.
It's not that it's a bad decision. It's that when you're trading them for picks in the draft are simply lottery tickets.
You're right. It's the Family Guy meme.
If you play the lottery, it's just as easy to walk away with nothing except some shaved silver on your lap when you're done scratching that ticket. They traded for a solid defensive tackle, but also when you look at that defensive tackle, he's regressed every year since his 3rd year.
It's true.
And here's the other flip. He hasn't been a great run defender either over the last 3 years. So the whole analogy that they did it so they can help stop the run, he hasn't been good versus the run. more of an interior pass rusher,
Yeah.
a part of his game, but he's been less good against the run. So listen, in theory, yes, you get 2 first-round picks, you get a player. In theory, you got something for him, but more often than not, the team that gets the proven commodity usually wins out on those trades.
Yeah. Look, long term, we'll see. The biggest thing that I see with this came down to the price point. And we've had this debate about Drew Brees, right? Like if you were willing to pay him, we're not turning this to a Cowboys podcast, I promise. But for anybody who's watched this, we've had plenty of experience with salary cap issues. It's New Orleans, right? And we talked about Drew Brees' cap hit for a long time. $50 million, even if the salary cap hits $300 million, which we expect it to hit in a couple years, I think next year is projected to be right at $300 million. Well, that means 1/6 of your entire roster is Micah Parsons. That is a lot of cap to throw at a non-quarterback, arguably one-dimensional, elite potential Hall of Famer. Sure, it's just how much do you value that player? Like that is a lot of your cap. That's a lot. I'm not saying it's the wrong decision, but I understand it. And maybe I'm too cheap. I've been notorious for this. I am very cheap when it comes to salary cap money. I'm notorious about it. Maybe you do need to spring that extra for that big guy, but $50 million a year is a lot if it's not named like something like Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, man, I think you're underselling Michael Parsons a lot. Trey Hendrickson, fair. I can understand. And the reason I say it is because you said that Michael Parsons isn't the level of run defender that, some of the top guys are. And one of the arguments I made for not paying Trey Hendrickson has never had more than 50 tackles in a year. In fact, he went 13, 18, 19, 25, 34, 32, 43, 46. Most tackles he's ever had in a year is 46. Yeah. Right? Some of the greatest defensive ends, they're looking at 60, 70 tackles. Cam Jordan has a couple of years with 60, 50. So you're looking at a guy who's truly one-dimensional. Michael Parsons has a year with 84 tackles, 65 tackles, 64, and his lowest last year was 43. Yeah. He's a better run defender than you're giving him.
Look, I said it earlier. Like he is Trey Hendrickson, but on a much higher level. Like if we're talking about Trey Hendrickson being, it's that good versus great argument. To me, Trey Hendrickson is a very good player. Michael Parsons is a great player, but is he, number one player in the league, you pay him $50 million good? That's the debate, right? Like I'm not trying to say you would take Trey Hendrickson and Parsons and they're 1-to-1. No, I would take Parsons every time, but there's also a price tag attached to each one of those players, and that's the key for me. I'm just seeing it from the ones that it's like right now. If you believed 100% that Cameron Jordan is Cameron Jordan, do you ask him to take a pay cut? No, you need him to take a pay cut because you know that he is not what he was. And that's what people are debating. Can the guy coming off injury, he's not old, but can the guy coming off injury maintain his level of play? And is it worth paying $50 million a year? And as someone who is very vocal of not liking the Cowboys or Jerry Jones, this is one time where I would have made the same decision. Mainly because, again, he managed to get something, whereas my GM just is like, nah, we're good. You're cut. What's going to happen? Oh, you went to the Super Bowl. Great. Fantastic.
Somebody should have told him about those gold jerseys and how that gold doesn't match.
Yeah.
It's such a hard color to go with.
It's the khaki gold, baby. We putting our khakis and going to work.
It's that gold is so hard to get right. Either it's too mustard looking or it ends up being too khaki looking. Listen, Cam Jordan fought very hard for those gold jerseys for years.
Yeah. All for them to end up looking like the NFL Geek Squad. Like, come on. Like, it ain't his fault. It's not like he designed the color. It's Nike. But still, like, like you had the gold already. You used it one time where you faced Dante Culpepper and the Minnesota Vikings back in like 2002. That shimmery, glossy gold was actual gold. You already had the uniform, just get Nike to make it. But no, we had to go with this khaki. This is how I know we're getting old, man. We're debating this because I've seen all the young bloods and all the little hotheads run around who insult you if you don't like Spencer Rattler or whatever, or even Tyler Shuck. They just get mad real quick. It reminds me of how I was on Saints Report, Noel.com, and Reddit when I was like 25 years old, just running my mouth. They love it. They think this uniform's great. I look at this, I'm like, man, this looks terrible. Look at all these old people wearing khakis. Like it's like we're at a church function right now. I don't feel it. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they look great on the field, but all we've seen is like the preview videos and the hype pictures. And I'm just sitting here like, nah, it's not doing it for me, dog.
So would you rate it?
Rate it? This is, in my opinion, the worst uniform they've worn in my lifetime. And they haven't worn it yet.
1 to 10 scale.
2. 3. I mean, it's bad. That's
harsh.
I don't like it. And keep in mind that I'm also was never really sold on this version of the black helmet, right? With the fleur-de-lis down the center. And like, I get it that this probably makes the black helmet look better than the black helmet looked when Sean Payton was here and he brought it in. But like the uniform is so bad, it's making me want more black in the uniform. Like just go for the black on black with the gold lettering, the classic. I mean, I feel like the Saints during Sean Payton's era, when Color Rush first came out, had the best uniforms in the league. Their black on black was elite. Their white on white Color Rush was elite. I am looking forward to this year's Color Rush, so it's not like I'm just trying to dump on all the uniforms, right? Because we got a new helmet coming in this year as well that's not just the black helmet. But I just don't like this gold khaki. I hate it. It doesn't live up to the original, and maybe I'll change my mind Sunday because I actually need to see them play in it. Maybe I'm just being too much of an old man yelling at the clouds, but when I see it in every picture, I just go, nah, this ain't it.
I give it a 5.
5?
I give it a solid 5.
See, a 5 I would buy. I wouldn't buy this jersey. So that's why I can't give it a 5.
That I would go and buy this jersey, but I don't really buy jerseys. I haven't bought a single jersey myself. Every jersey I own has been bought for me.
That's kind of how I do my judgment. Like if it's not something I'm willing to buy, then it has to be like a 1 or 2 or 3 rating. Like if I don't want to actually own it and spend money on it, then it's not going to be rated for me.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
fair enough.
I should have worn it. I've got one of those gold jerseys. I should have worn it. Y'all have seen me wear it on the podcast before. And that jersey I would have given like maybe a 6. Like I'm not saying it's perfect, but it was something that I was obviously willing to own, so I paid for it, and I just wouldn't do it with this one. So we'll see how the NFL Geek Squad looks this Sunday.
Glass half empty, half full. There's an opportunity to go 1-0.
Yeah, I'm more excited about that. Yeah, if this jersey gets a win-loss record in the positive, I'll take back everything I'm saying right now. Well, if that's the voodoo we need to cast, let's go, Khaki Brothers. I'm ready. I'm good. So
should be a fun one. It'll be nice to see some of the guys move around in them. Shout out to Cam Jordan for pushing that through.
Yeah,
Not
for
sure
sure
if it was the gold you wanted, but it's the gold you got.
I definitely appreciate him working on getting better uniforms because we did have that weird stagnation of uniform for a while, and then we've gotten a lot more variety, and I've liked it. So not going to fault him for that. It's kind of like Cam though. Like he changes his hair every year, and this year I don't know if y'all have seen his official photo, but he went all out this time around. Man gets wilder every year, but that's an episode we need to have in the off season. And I don't know why Saints podcast haven't done it. There needs to be a segment done. Somebody, Ross Jackson, Nick Underhill, Wolf and Ryan, or Ryan and Adam. I don't care who does it. Year by year, Cameron Jordan profile pictures, official photos, rate them. I think his afro with like the, can you even say Fu Manchu? Who even knows in 2025? But that mustache handlebar thing he had going on with the big fro? I think that's his top. That was my favorite. But
he's had some swashbuckling looks.
He had it. Well, look, next podcast, we're going to do a preview of the Arizona Cardinals, a little bit of preview to the preview. I'm going to be really hyped about this receiver set. Obviously, I'm not sold in quarterback, whether it would be Shuck or Rattler, but there's something to be said for this team putting together a very fast, very agile receiver core, especially if it can actually build some momentum and work together. There's not a secondary in the league that can keep up with them speed-wise. We'll see how that ends up working out, though, but we'll have that preview. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, it should definitely open up things underneath. Random thought. This does seem like a team that's preparing for life without one of its top 2 receivers next year. just a random thought.
Random thought. Yeah, somebody not getting that extension possibly. So, yeah, we'll see. Who dat? God bless. Hope you enjoyed the show. Let us know what your favorite segment was. Let us know how much you can't stand our opinions, because the good news is we got more of them coming. So whether you're a lover or a hater, you're all welcome here. Can't wait for the young bloods to find this and just start trashing me over my khaki take. But you know what? It's the internet, baby. I'm not new here. I'm used to it. Bring it. Let's go. See you on the next one.